Game Over Toronto is broadcasting from the Game Over Network channel for the playoffs, but in October, the network launches for real. For all your Game Over Toronto content, make sure you subscribe to our Toronto-specific YouTube channel. Open the Game Over Network YouTube page in a new tab from this video, scroll past the bald guy talking, and click on Game Over Toronto channel in our featured channels section. Click subscribe and make sure you hit the drop-down menu to get notified when we post videos or go live. Tell all your Maple Leaf fan friends and family to check it out, and make sure you smash that like button. Toronto Maple Leafs fans, likely Bruins fans, welcome to the last Game Over Toronto of the 2023-2024 season. Just a couple of minutes ago, the Toronto Maple Leafs lost Game 7 in overtime, 2-1 to the Boston Bruins. You know, I thought I would be madder. I thought I would be sadder. I thought I would be more rageful. I thought I would be more frustrated. And while I still feel all those things, there's this very unnerving calmness that I feel. I don't want to say peace because that's the wrong word. I don't feel peaceful about what happened. But I think to some degree, I think it's a feeling of relief that there is likely going to be some very sweeping changes happening in the next few weeks and over the summer and until we are back in the preseason, back in September and October, because despite the fact that the Leafs were able to fight back and force a Game 7, the fact of the matter is, even though last year was a very small step forward, this year, losing again in the first round, is an obvious step backwards. Welcome to Game Over Toronto. If you're just joining us, my name is Lauren Williamson. Thank you for being here. If you could go ahead and hit like and subscribe, it would do us a whole bunch of favors. I'm going to post the link to the Game Over Toronto channel that we are starting as we're relaunching Game Over specifically for the playoffs. We were going off of the main hub network, but starting next season, Game Over Toronto is going to have its own channel. So it would do us a great big favor if you could go subscribe to that. Make sure you hit the bell. Make sure you do all those things. I got a fresh water bottle. I had a stress headache for 3/4 of that game, and even though, I'm not gonna lie, like, we get to the second period, we get through it, you get to the third period, William Nylander scores, and it felt like such a huge momentum swing, and then a minute and 21 seconds later, the Bruins take that energy all right back, and it felt like they were the Thanos inevitable. It felt like that sort of all game. The effort was there. It was clear that the Leafs were playing hard tonight. They were really pushing. They played very well defensively. They get a power play opportunity. They continue to not score on it, so they're 1 for 21 in this series, which, while that's not what lost them this game, it may very well have been the deciding factor in losing the series because, we do end up going down 3-1, and if we can convert some of those opportunities earlier in the series, maybe we can win it in 6 at home, but it just isn't what happens, and now we're here again a year later after they get gentlemen swept last year by Florida, for lack of a better term, for not being able to score enough. And even this series, there was not enough scoring from puck drop in Game 1. The series leader in Toronto for goals was William Nylander, and that was fine, except for the fact that the person second in that was Matthew Nyes. And that's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. And it's so disappointing that it happened this way, and I imagine it will be a very different looking team in the next season. I mean, there's been lots of speculation for a long time now that there was going to be some very big changes should this happen and should the Leafs lose in the first round. The way the Leafs ended the season didn't show a lot of inspiration. Our goaltending was questionable at best. Our forwards weren't really scoring going into the last few games. Matthews doesn't score the last few games of the season. William Nylander obviously was on that terrible goalless streak. And it just felt like that energy really rolled over. They battle some injury through the series, but what team doesn't? And, Bobby McMahon never gets back in the series. Austin Matthews is in for the first half and then, or out for the first couple. Hello, there's a cat here. And the second half, William Nylander comes back and Austin Matthews is out. And, the beginning of the series goaltending, Samsonov was in net. It wasn't going very well. Joseph Woll goes in, turns the corner, and then he gets hurt again. And tonight, Samsonov is in net, and they lose 2-1. Now, I don't want to hang that loss on Ilya Samsonov, but, the last 7 periods of hockey that the Leafs played before this game started, it felt like they played with more confidence and more... I don't even want to say confidence. It just feels like when they play in front of Joseph Woll, they play a lot better. They play with more swagger. And tonight it felt like they were really holding up on their stick. It felt more as the game went on like the Leafs were just trying to hold on and not let Boston score. Just before the game even happens, Patrice Bergeron is shown in the stands, waving the flags and getting Boston going. There was a couple of really good opportunities by Joel Edmondson. There were some really good plays by him. He looked really good today. The first 5 minutes of the game felt very fast. The last few games, especially the last 2 games before tonight, it felt like there was a lot of speed and urgency, and it just didn't feel like that tonight from the Leafs. It did at the beginning, and as the game went on, it felt like it just really wore them down. And like, credit where credit's due, man. Like, everybody, we all, we were all talking, myself included, about the fact that they're, the Bruins and the Leafs are both gonna slay a small demon. Now it's pretty clear that the Bruins never had demons, and they're able to go on and face Florida in the second round, and what fun that will be, I'm sure. And get to try and undo what happened to their season last year. And it was just, oh, hi admin, hi. Really a bummer. Thanks, man, appreciate that. It was a rough game. There was a couple really nice opportunities for William Nylander tonight. Nyes had a couple really good zone entries and plays. The more he plays, the better I like him. And for him to have his first full season this year and to look this good in the playoffs, I doubt he will. I have no doubt that he will be back in an even bigger needle mover next season, because thank goodness he's under contract for at least one more, and then he's an RFA. Samsonov makes a really, really, really nice save on JVR. At the end of the first period, there was an off-zone face-off. Domi shot bounces up and offside with a minute 15 left. And then right as the first period ends, it was a line of Marner, Holmberg, and Matthews out on the ice. The second period starts. Zacha was testing Samsonov early. Beecher gets a shot just wide. Bertuzzi gets a shot on goal with 2 minutes into the second period. Boston gets a power play, the Lilligan trip. They were 6 for 15 in this series. Joel Edmondson was able to clear that. Marner gets a really nice shorthanded chance, but Swayman makes a really good save at the last second, even though he turns it over and it is his error. Benoit gets the clear. Toronto kills that off and moves to 6-16 on the PK. Coyle takes down Domi just a few seconds after Toronto kills that penalty off. The Leafs do nothing with it. They did look, I will say, finally tonight they changed a couple of things that looked like on purpose. It seemed like there was an understanding where if you had the puck in the neutral zone and a little bit of space, you could just go in. I don't think once they tried to force the double drop back pass, which is maybe the only good thing that happened in the game. And of course, Boston kills it off. The Bruins ice it. 10 minutes in, the shots were 17-13 for Boston. There was another Boston power play right after that. Nice hook on Pasta with 9:54 to go. They are not able to convert on that, and we head into the third period. Again, 0-0. The shots were 21-18. Up until the third period, it really felt like, and as the third period happened, it felt like the first person to get a goal was going to be the game winner. Now, that didn't end up being true, but it very nearly was. Third period, nice, good. That's a really good chance. 30 seconds in, Swayman has a couple really nice saves on Edmonton. Marner has a really nice drive and pass. A minute 22, and the Leafs get called for offside. Sammy makes a really nice save on Brazo 4 minutes in. It felt like, at this point felt like the next goal wins. Sammy gets a really nice save on Pasta just under 7 minutes into the third period. Matthews gets a chance, and then finally William Nylander puts it in the back of the net on a very nice one-timer from Austin Matthews. Poppy fully had the puck. Swayman bit on it. He dropped down into the butterfly, passes over to William Nylander down on one knee, hits the twine, and it was a beautiful goal. And then barely 81 seconds later, Hampus Lindholm ties it up, going short side, just over the pad of Ilya Samsonov. Boston at that point had a huge amount of life. The crowd got into it, and it really felt like, even though the shots were 27-27, just over 7 minutes to go, it felt like once Boston got that equalizer, it went to their legs, and the Leafs were just really trying to hold on for dear life. And despite the fact that I love Taylor Swift lyrics as much as possible, white knuckle death gripping something doesn't always make it a good thing. And even going into overtime, there was a chance with 1.2 seconds left, but it went into overtime, and then a minute 54 seconds, Pasta buries it. I mean, he was limited like crazy in this series, and then so it was only fitting that he won it, and that's the game. I did not leave the TV on to watch the handshake line. I don't know what happened. I'm sure that after this is over, there will be juicy comments out from all of the post-game interviews and all of that fun stuff. But you have to think that this is the last time this iteration of the Leafs is the way that it is. You have to imagine that may very well have been the last game behind the bench for Sheldon Keefe. It might be the last time that Brendan Shanahan has to care about the Leafs. It might be the last time Ilya Samsonov plays for the Leafs. It might be the last time a lot of people play for the Leafs. There's a lot of opportunity here. Matthews' extension kicks in next season, as does Nylander's. Now that we're officially into speculation season, which is such a bummer to think about, there's no shortage of people calling for major trades to happen, and I might be on that train as well at this point, because if we think about the last two games, not Game 7, I mean Game 6 and Game 5, one of the major differences for the Leafs was having goaltending that was above average. And for a lot of this season and for a lot of the last few years, that's not something that the Leafs have had, is any kind of dependable goaltending. And so, if the rumors are true and that sweeping changes can be expected in not only the front but in the back of the office as well in the Leafs, that if it's not just players down on the ice but people up in the gondola as well and behind the bench, the one thing that I truly hope for is that we, whatever happens and whoever isn't re-signed, I mean, there's a whole bunch of UFAs coming up this season. If I look it up real quick here, I know TJ Brody is up at the end of the season. I know Bertuzzi was on a 1-year deal. I know Domi was on a 1-year deal. Obviously Bobby McMahon has been re-signed. I know Simone Benoit has been signed. I'm going to really quickly pull up the cap friendly for the Leafs here. And we can just go over it real quick so I can get a full read on who's going to be done. Let's see here. Yeah, so at the end of this season, Max Domi, Tyler Bertuzzi, Connor Dewar is an RFA, so that's nice. Nick Robertson and Noah Gregor, both RFAs. TJ Brody, is a UFA. Timothy Liljegren is an RFA. Joel Edmondson is a UFA. Connor Timmins is an RFA as of next season. Mark Giordano's contract is done. That's $800,000 coming off the books. Ilya Lyubushin is a UFA at the end of the season. I mean, coming off the season just on defense, I got cap friendly up here. We dropped basically just shy of $9 million cap space at the end of the season on defense. And then we actually only drop about $4 million of cap space on forwards. And then the goaltenders, obviously, we have Martin Jones and Ilya Samsonov both coming off the books. Joseph Woll, we have signed for one more year until he's an RFA at the end of the next season. So next season, we have a total of $766 and $667 assigned to goaltending. Now, what else comes off next season? We have John Klingberg's contract coming off, Matt Murray coming off, and the finality of the Jake Muzzin contract is also off at the end of this season, as of July 1st. That's a lot of space to work with. I don't know if it's enough space to make this team compatible with the second round or the playoffs, because at the end of last season when Kyle Dubas was fired and Tree was brought in, and he brought in all of these players that the whole concept was more goal scoring in the playoffs when it counted, and it was a great premise. It was great in theory, and I will say one of the few nice things that I can say about the Leafs this playoffs is they certainly weren't pushovers. They certainly weren't completely trucked every single game. They did a lot more to push back and fight back and not just let the other team bully you around. But it's awful hard to score goals if your power play is 1 for 21 and you can't score more than 2 goals in a game. It's almost impossible to win series like that. It is possible. It's not very probable, not for teams like the Leafs. And I don't know if any of us have the solution. I don't know if Brad Treliving has the solution. I don't know if anyone on management has the solution. It feels like no matter, aside from someone in the core 4 being traded, it feels like we've changed all of the other variables and there's been no change. So at what point do you make the decision to no longer commit to insanity and trying to do the same thing over and over and over again and hoping for a different outcome? Because I tell you, last year when the Leafs fell to Florida, it felt like they were completely outworked. And this series was not unwinnable. But early mistakes costed us in a way that we were not really ever fully able to recover from. I mean, not having our stars was a big part of it, but again, these were winnable games. I mean, the first game, they lose 5-1. That was brutal. But the second game, we win. That's great. But game 3, I mean, right up until the last second, it was 2-2. And then finally, they get a couple empty netters and Boston wins. And then game 4, they lose 3-1. Again, nothing to show for on the power play, despite the fact that multiple times in this series, the Leafs got double minors. There was a 4-on-3, there was 4-on-4 opportunities, and they weren't able to convert on any of them. And at some point, that all builds up and catches up with you, and now they're off until September, and they get to sit with this just like we do. Think about how deflating it must be knowing that you're this close to finally ending all of the crap about Boston having your number and, beating Boston in a playoff series for the first time since 1959. I don't know if enough sweeping changes can happen to make the needle move enough to get this team over the hump. Because I tell you, Joseph Woll, he's a great, and if he gets back and he's able to be in full health next year, I have no doubt that he's going to be a really good goaltender for us moving forward. But I don't know what the second half of that looks like. I don't think you can bring Ilya Samsonov back, just even though he had that really nice, resurgence after he took that time off. I think the fact that he needed the time off, and I think that he wasn't able to deliver in a satisfying way in the playoffs, I think that hurts his contract. I really do. Let's get to some questions in the chat. Really quick before we do that, I'm going to put up the Edmonton ad. So if you could just go over, make sure you hit the Game Over other channels. Subscribe to anyone that you're a fan of. I'm going to repost the link for the Game Over Toronto channel here. And we will be right back with some of your questions.
Game Over Edmonton is broadcasting from the Game Over Network channel for the playoffs. But come 2024 in October, we're relaunching with our own channel. So for all of your Edmonton Oilers news, analysis, and fun, make sure you open the Game Over Network channel from this video, scroll past my ugly mug, and head on down to the Game Over Edmonton channel from our featured channels area. Click subscribe, and make sure you ring that reminder bell to make sure that you get notified whenever we post something or go live. Tell all your Oilers fan friends and family to come join our amazing community. You won't regret it. And on this video, smash that like button right.
So let's get some comments in the chats. Charlie from Game Over Ottawa is in the chat, or was. Nice to see you here, Charlie. Sorry, I was off ranting. I didn't see that you commented. We've heard Leafs were overhauling everything for the past couple of years. I'll believe it when I see it, to be honest. You got a point. I mean, I think that if everybody's back next season, including our power play coach, I think someone might let the air out of the entire front office of the Leafs tires. Music for Al. What a great effort, but too much running around at the end. Too true. Matt Wilkins. Welcome back, Matt. Keith will be gone by Wednesday. Find the Prez takes a couple weeks longer. I hope you're right. It would be really nice to see that happen before I go on vacation in a couple weeks. Samsonov is kind of passive on that OT goal. He had a good shot and at playing the puck before Pasta got it. First Boston goal is pretty weak. Yeah, I mean, I think someone was actually in his eyes a little bit, but you would hope that he would have it. If he's a little bit tighter to his post, that probably doesn't go in, and then maybe this game over is a little bit more cheerful. Leafs played very well. Good game. Leafs made the Bruins fight for it. Go Bruins. Well, Darth, thank you for being here and being nice about it. Best of luck against the Panthers. I hope you're able to exercise some demons, sort of. 4 $10+ million player and only one game of 3+ goals in the last 14 playoff games. That's terrible. Yep. David W. Welcome back, David. If Keith Pelly doesn't fire Shanahan, what will it take for those changes to occur? What was to happen last December to the Raptors? Late that month, Masai Ujiri pulled off a blockbuster trade just hours before the Toronto Raptors were to narrowly lost the upcoming game to the Detroit Pistons that lost 20 straight games. Any good NBA team would have outscored those Pistons. I don't know enough about basketball to verify what you're saying, but you sound like you know what you're talking about. Marner and Tavares will be asked to waive their no move. I mean, I find it hard to believe that any of those players will be willing to be back, especially with the amount of vitriol, and I'm expecting falling magma to happen in the next few days. Yeah, rough. Go Oilers. Oh, that's rough. Oh, I mean, welcome. If you could hit like, that would do me a big favor. Let's see what else everybody else is saying. Leafs are pure garbage. Well, I mean, tonight they were. For most of the series they were, that's for sure. I'd try to move Marner and Tavares. I mean, I find it kind of dirty to try and trade your captain, but I mean, he had some really good chances tonight. I just don't think that. I think one of the major problems that the Leafs faced this series was the fact that through the whole season there was so much line blending that was happening. I don't think there was enough time for any line to really get comfortable in this playoffs because it just seemed like every game it was different. I mean, injuries was a part of that, but this is about to be not safe for work, so if you want to mute it for a second. Tough shit. To quote William Nylander, stop fucking crying, bro. Vancouver had major injuries up and down their lineup, and you know where they're going to the second round to meet Edmonton. I can't wait for that series. It's one thing I will say about that is I'm ecstatic about the fact that there was guaranteed a team to be in the Western Conference Final. Yeah. How much would it cost to buy them out? I don't know. I don't want that smoke though. I don't think that's necessary. I think that if you try hard enough, you'll find a dance partner. I won't be David W. I won't be sad if Sheldon Keefe goes, but even with new head coach with Coach Darko Rajovic, the Raptors this season were 25-57 versus the 41-41 season before that. I think Keefe is gone, but other changes might be tweaks here and there. I mean, like I said, there's enough of our decor and enough of our core itself to argue that there could be major changes happening. Will those happen before the draft? I don't know. I know that the Leafs still have their first round pick this year. I mean, if depending on their return, I would be open to that if it was in conjunction with a trade of one of the big four for a equally impressive, well, not equally impressive, because let's be real, guys. If the Leafs do trade Marner, there's no way that they win the trade in a traditional sense. You might be able to get a couple good pieces back, but you're certainly not getting back someone of equal talent. So let's just kibosh that. I don't know what changes will happen, but I think it's pretty safe to say that we can expect some fireworks in the next couple of days. Feels like there should be more to talk about, but it's just pretty awful that as someone that's been a Leafs fan their whole life, that I'm kind of resigned to... I'm almost relieved at the fact that they lost, because it means that it makes it harder to argue that everybody that we have talked about being back should be back. Now, having said that, I would trade those sweeping changes for us to have a chance and move into the next round. Now, on that same token, I don't think that the Leafs getting into the second round would be beneficial for them in any way. And I don't really think that they have a candle's chance in a hurricane against the Panthers. The Panthers are rested. They are closer to fully staffed as Toronto is. I do think that they would have had their numbers crunched, so to speak, but we'll never know. And now we get to watch other teams go on and fight and play hard and get power play goals. Isn't that wonderful? What must that be like, huh? Like, for the Leafs to end the series 1 for 21 is just... You can't have a power play that awful and expect to get far. Again, it wasn't what lost them the game, but there was a couple good opportunities that the Leafs had on that power play, and if they get one of those goals, then who knows what happens. I mean, someone once told me, what if are the two most dangerous words in the English language, because you can what if yourself into any situation, or what if your way out of any situation to get the excuse that you want. And it feels like there's no what ifing this time. There's no what ifing out of the predicament that we have put ourselves in. And that not we, but Leafs management has put themselves in. Because you have two players that are getting raises, two players that are going to be eligible to get raises as of July 1st, and you have to convince one of them to not re-sign with the team they're currently with. Now, I do think that if you go to Mitch Marner, you say, listen, man, we're not going to re-sign you. We don't care what number you want to come in at. Unless it starts with a 5, we're done here. Where would you like to go? I truly believe that that's what it would take, is Mitch Marner taking such a pay cut, which he won't do. And he, in fairness, probably doesn't deserve to, because he was decent this series. He's probably one of the biggest reasons that they were able to fight back in the comeback, because he played very well defensively. But the age has passed where defense wins you championships. You need to be able to score goals, and to be held to under 3 goals for this whole series is simply insufficient. It's simply not good enough. So I don't know what you changed to get that going. It seems redundant, and it seems almost comical to say that you need different people to play with your soon to be $13 million forward to get him opportunities. No matter what way you slice that cake, it doesn't seem to be proper. Yeah. Let's get to a couple more questions in the chat before we finish this final game over of the season off. I think Keefe is gone, but other changes might be tweaks here and there. The only problem is that they cannot win in a trade with the core four. Even if they make the best moves possible, considering the situation, they will still lose the trade overall. They have no leverage. I do think that you could probably find a couple of golden nuggets on other teams that maybe are better than they are getting an opportunity to be. I wouldn't be against getting someone like an Owen Tippett. That would be pretty good. Also, Jake Gensel is a free agent at the end of the season, so who knows? Maybe you can go out and get someone like that now that he's no longer a Penguin and is on Carolina. Yeah. Fun fact, because of the expansion over the years, the Leafs have never won 3 playoff rounds. I know, it's unfortunate. Brutal. Last season, NHL winger Patrick Kane agreed to waive his full no move clause to facilitate a trade from the Blackhawks team, which was where he'd won a cup to a New York Rangers, and that'd be on its way to a playoff appearance. You don't play an $11 million player to play defensively. Yeah, I mean, Phil Deneau does not make that, and he's one of the best. I mean, David Kampf is, one of the best defensive forwards on the team, too, and he makes, like 1.75 for the next 3 years? Yeah. Frederick Uday, welcome. If you could hit like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. In my humble opinion, is it humble if you put humble? If they tell Marner they won't pay him, he could wait to become a UFA and they wouldn't get anything back for him. It's too risky. I mean, he could do that. He certainly could do that. And there's a chance that is what happens. But I also think that if enough hail falls on his umbrella over the next, 2.5 months or what have you. I mean, we always find out lots at locker clear out day in a couple days. I always find it very interesting to see what people have to say at the end of the series. I don't know how many of the players that we re-signed in the offseason will be back next year. I would imagine that somebody will try to move off of the Ryan Reeves contract. I don't know why he signed it for 3 years, but I digress. Yeah. So, I think I'm going to go eat a cookie. I bought some Craig's cookies earlier today in anticipation that I might feel some pain today, and I was right, unfortunately. We should probably wrap this stream up. I can't believe it ended again like this. The Leafs season ends with their record 46, 26, and 10. And it was a tumultuous season. There was really high highs for the power play for goal scoring. Matthews got 69 goals. William Nylander, I believe he hit 50. He got 99 points. There's a chance that Matthews wins the Lady Byng. He wins the Richard. And yet none of it matters because the Leafs are out by the end of May the 4th be with you. And I know that anybody that's in that locker room right now would rather not win any personal awards and would be able to be on to the next round. And it's a shame that we have to wait another 11 and a half months for another kick at the can. It was a lot of vitriol through the season with the goaltending, with the defense, with the offense, with the coaching, with the power play, with the PK. Even on a personal note, with Game Over, we went 2/3 of the season through the way, and then the hiatus happened, and we didn't know if we were going to be back, and we didn't know if we were going to be back this season. We didn't know if we were only going to be able to be back next season. We didn't know if we were going to be able to be back at all. And so, even though it's over now for the season, I'm going to hydrate before my eyes leak. even though the season's over now. I'm glad that I got to do at least one more playoff series of Game Over Toronto. I have loved doing it here this season. I know that we missed a little chunk of the season towards the end there, but I'm glad that we were able to come back, and I'm trying to be optimistic about what next year looks like for the Leafs. I know that I'll be back next year for Game Over, so I look forward to seeing you there. I wish that we could do this some more before the Leaf season ended, but unfortunately, people like you and me don't get to decide that. And even though the Leafs were able to fight back and force a Game 7, those demons just keep haunting them. And so they fall 2-1 to Boston in a Game 7 overtime. David Pastrnak with the dagger. I'm sure he wouldn't have it any other way. And myself, Lauren Williamson, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm going to repost the link for Game Over Toronto. If you could go subscribe to that channel, it would go a long way. If you could hit like and subscribe. Tell me your best memory of Game Over this season, or just the Leafs this season. Leave a comment in the comment box down below. What was your favorite goal of the season? What was your favorite game? What was your favorite moment? Because I know that in a couple months when I'm looking back on this stream, even though the Leafs lost, it'll make me happy to see that you were there and that you were here with me. So thank you for being here. I'm sad that we couldn't do this some more, but hopefully next year they give us a little bit more to cheer for. So for the last time this year, this hockey season, signing off for Game Over Toronto, my name is Lauren Williamson. Thank you for being here. Have yourself a great night. And even though it hurts and we won't be able to say it for a couple more months, go Leafs go.